Circle 3, Death by Water. They have forsaken me, the spring of living water, and have dug their own cisterns, broken cisterns that cannot hold water. Jeremiah 2:13. High on a hill that sleeps by the salty sea, after the shouting and the dancing, after the mocking, jeering, wailing, crying, self-mutilation gave way to exhaustion, answered only with the silence of a god and the bleeding of rotting clay. Yet there was no fire, no rain. High on a hill that sleeps by the salty sea, after the laying of stones, after the sacrifice was prepared, 12 leaking vessels were spilled on the altar, answered with the consummation of fire that licked up both body and stone, and a fist rose from the sea. Then, with a flash of lightning, a nail sank into the cloudy wrist. The fist opened, as if in supplication, palm up, bleeding rain, and soaking the dust. Lord, here comes the flood. We will say goodbye to flesh and blood. If again the seas are silent, in any still alive, we'll meet those who gave their islands to survive. Drink up, dreamers, you're running dry. Far out beyond the deepest sea swell, far from any fog-light bell, Proof Rock's maids sang one to another, lamenting the loss of the loved and the lover. We dreamed of a circle round, and in that circle there was a face, with eyes that filled the sea with grace, and the voice was calling, calling us near, yet we whispered, we cannot rest here. For the circle is now broken, no union can be found. The words are unspoken, or is there just no sound? We dreamed of a circle round. So deep, so wide, will you take me on your back for a ride? If I should fall, would you swallow me deep inside? Bevel looked out over the river alone, with rippling waters and surging streams, and currents of reddish-yellow cream that splashed up against the weather-beaten stones. Baptism, forward and down, forward and down, forward and down. A silent current caught the young lamb within the silent swells of a torn, gentle hand. The fear and fury were left behind, back with the empty hands of the swine of paradise. Out in the boat, riding the water, riding the waves of the sea in the storm, my brothers and I were scared, and then an apparition called, "Come out." In fear and hysteria I stepped out and began to sink in turmoil and trepidation. The more I called out, "Lord, save me," the deeper I sank. Deeper, deeper, you of little faith. Drowning in the depths, deeper and deeper. How could the boy have known, young and ignorant of the streams of the Spirit, hearing muffled, fragmented messages? How could he be guided by clear light and sound? For the density of the water was too great. Seeing his face in the reflection of the pool, and feeling a deep communion in his own, he drank from the spring and tasted. It was good. Yet he thirsted for more than previous curiosity had initially yearned for, and the boy began to drink from a foreign pool, which resounded in his own pure being, but dark. And the boy began to drown in his own drips and drops, the more he tasted his darkened pool. Enveloped in his own reflection, the more violently his hands dove in to drink, the more his reflection was disjointed, fragmented by the disturbed waters, no longer silent, but rather screaming of thirst. Bending down, trying to focus on himself, drunk with self-desire, he dove into himself and into the pool, and lost sight of his reflection, having closed in upon himself. With this impassioned burning, the silent pool's spring prematurely erupted, drowning, suffocating the boy with his self, always thirsting for more, never satisfied. Drowning in the yellowed sheets, bleeding to death, a different death than that of water. Though the vision was there in the dream of the water's dance, the experience was not clear, and the swirling streams within the inner eye blurred his vision. The waters closed over his head, and he was submerged, lost. In the dream, there was both birth and death, but also confusion, and an altered sense of identity. The garden was seen, but the roots spread out from the soil, unearthing the virgin earth, showing what need not be shown at so young an age, the swelling dream of the water's dance. And the serpent glided on the surface, hissing. The inner world of the child's being was innocent in the collective memory, yet corrupt in its realization. For the shadow had fallen, like dust from a corpse, like rain from a cloud. The memory of the garden dissolves itself into the blood and water in which the embryo floats. And the death that comes by water is really a second birth, a rebirth. In the circle of the garden, in the circle dream of the sea, birth and death are interwoven, like fibers in a live body.